Welcome back to Slumber Lore, your quiet sanctuary in the night. Tonight, we resume our journey through the lost libraries of the ancient world. Let the soft rhythm of the rain and the gentle warmth of our crackling fire wash away the noise of your day. From the sealed caves of Dunhuang to the forgotten voices buried in the sands of Nag Hammadi, find a comfortable position, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let quiet whispers of history guide you to a deep and peaceful sleep. The hidden library of Dunhuang, the cave that time sealed. Far from the Mediterranean, another remarkable library rested in silence. Along the ancient Silk roads, where merchants and pilgrims crossed vast deserts, a hidden collection quietly waited for centuries. Dunhuang stood at one of history's greatest crossroads. Here, travelers from many civilizations exchanged not only goods, but also languages, beliefs, stories, and ideas. Along the edge of the oasis stood the Mogo Caves. For centuries, monks and artists transformed these sandstone cliffs into places of worship, meditation, learning, and artistic expression. Within these sacred caves, generations of monks carefully preserved religious texts, paintings, and documents, creating a remarkable record of life along the Silk Roads. Around the beginning of the 11th century, someone carefully filled one small chamber with thousands of manuscripts, then sealed its entrance behind a wall, leaving its contents hidden from the world for centuries. Behind the sealed wall rested an astonishing collection. Thousands of manuscripts, paintings, and sacred texts remained undisturbed, protected by the dry desert climate and the quiet passage of time. For nearly 900 years, the hidden chamber remained sealed. Empires rose and fell, trade routes shifted, and generations passed, while the manuscripts waited patiently in complete silence. Why was the cave sealed? Historians continue to debate the answer. It may have been a sacred storage place, a protective archive, or a practical solution to preserving an ever-growing collection. Several explanations have been proposed. Some researchers believe the manuscripts were stored because they were sacred. Others suggest they were hidden for protection, while another view sees the cave as a carefully managed archive. Whatever the reason, the result was extraordinary. Tens of thousands of documents survived together, preserving an unparalleled record of religious life, trade, language, and everyday society along the Silk Roads. The collection was astonishingly diverse. Religious scriptures rested beside official records, poetry, personal letters, calendars, contracts, and documents that reflected the daily life of people living along the Silk Roads. The manuscripts were written in many languages, including Chinese, Tibetan, Sanskrit, Sogdian, Khotanese, and others. Together, they reveal how ideas traveled between remarkably diverse communities. The Silk Roads carried far more than valuable goods. They connected cultures through trade, diplomacy, religion, science, and storytelling, allowing knowledge to travel across enormous distances. Among the library's greatest treasures was the Diamond Sutra, printed in the year 868. It is widely recognized as the oldest complete dated printed book known to survive. Centuries before movable type transformed printing in Europe, craftsmen in China had already developed sophisticated woodblock printing, allowing important texts to be reproduced with remarkable precision. The library cave preserved more than religious writings. It also contained tax records, official documents, contracts, and everyday paperwork that reveal how ordinary communities once lived and worked. Among the manuscripts were deeply personal writings, letters, receipts, and travel records. These simple documents allow us to glimpse the lives of merchants, pilgrims, monks, and families from long ago. The collection even includes children's writing exercises and educational texts, reminding us that learning was not reserved only for great scholars, but also shaped the everyday lives of younger generations. Not every manuscript was Buddhist. The collection also preserved writings from several religious traditions, offering historians a rare glimpse into the remarkable diversity that once flourished along the Silk Roads. Together, these manuscripts reveal a world connected through curiosity and exchange. Dunhuang was not simply a library, but a meeting place where many civilizations quietly shared their knowledge across centuries. In the year 1900, a Taoist caretaker named Wang Yuanlu was restoring the caves when he made an unexpected discovery. Hidden behind a sealed wall was a chamber unlike any he had ever seen. As the wall was opened, shelves and bundles of manuscripts emerged from the darkness. After nearly 9 centuries, the hidden library once again saw the light of day. News of the discovery spread gradually, attracting scholars and explorers from several countries. They quickly recognized that the manuscripts represented one of archaeology's greatest discoveries. Among the best-known visitors were Aurel Stein and Paul Pelliot. They acquired important collections of manuscripts, an episode that continues to inspire thoughtful discussion among historians and museum professionals. Today, the Dunhuang manuscripts are preserved in collections around the world. Although physically separated, many are being digitally reunited through international research and preservation projects. Today, international teams are creating detailed digital copies of the Dunhuang manuscripts. These projects allow researchers around the world to study fragile texts while helping protect the original documents. Technology has changed the methods of preservation, but not the purpose. Just as ancient scribes carefully copied texts, modern scholars work to preserve them for future generations in digital form. The library cave continues to transform historical research. Every translated manuscript adds another small piece to our understanding of life, language, and belief along the ancient Silk Road. For centuries, the hidden library remained silent beneath the desert cliffs. Its survival reminds us that history sometimes endures not because it is celebrated, but because it is quietly forgotten. As our journey leaves the Silk Roads behind, we return to Egypt, where another remarkable discovery, hidden inside sealed clay jars, will reveal voices from the early centuries of Christianity that had nearly been lost to time. The Nag Hammadi Library, Voices Buried in the Desert. The Egyptian desert has guarded countless secrets beneath its sands. For centuries, forgotten manuscripts rested quietly beneath this timeless landscape, waiting for chance to reveal them once again. In late 1945, local farmers searching for fertilizer made an unexpected discovery. What began as an ordinary day of work would soon become one of the 20th century's greatest archaeological finds. As they dug deeper, the farmers uncovered a large clay jar sealed for many centuries. No one knew what rested inside, and tradition suggested that opening it might release something mysterious. Curiosity finally overcame hesitation. Inside the jar were ancient books, not scrolls, but leather-bound codices whose pages had remained hidden beneath the desert for centuries. Unlike the long scrolls of earlier centuries, these codices resembled modern books. Their carefully bound pages represented a new way of preserving and organizing written knowledge. The discovery eventually revealed 13 ancient codices containing more than 50 individual texts. Together, they form one of the most important manuscript collections ever found from late antiquity. Each codex had been copied carefully by hand. Every page reflected the patience, skill, and dedication of scribes who believed these writings were worth preserving for future readers. Among the manuscripts were works unfamiliar to most readers today, including the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, and several other texts preserved nowhere else in such remarkable condition. These writings revealed that early Christianity included a wide variety of beliefs and interpretations. Different communities explored profound spiritual questions in different ways during its earliest centuries. Rather than presenting a single story, the Nag Hammadi manuscripts remind us that history is often more diverse and more complex than later generations sometimes imagine. During the first centuries of Christianity, many communities studied different collections of sacred writings. Their conversations reflected a rich and evolving landscape of faith and philosophy. Over time, some traditions became more widely accepted, while others gradually declined. As communities changed, many writings ceased to be copied and slowly disappeared from common use. Someone made a remarkable decision. Rather than destroying these books, they were carefully placed inside a clay jar and hidden beneath the desert, where they would remain untouched for centuries. Why the books were buried remains uncertain. Historians have proposed several possibilities, including protection during troubled times, private ownership, or careful storage by a nearby religious community. No surviving record explains the decision with certainty. Instead, scholars compare archaeological evidence, manuscript history, and historical context to better understand one of Egypt's most intriguing discoveries. Today, the Nag Hammadi Library is valued not as a collection of forbidden books, but as an extraordinary window into the intellectual and religious diversity of the ancient world. The manuscripts preserve voices asking timeless questions about the soul, wisdom, suffering, and the search for truth. Although their answers differed, their curiosity remains deeply familiar. Creating a single codex demanded remarkable craftsmanship. Every page was copied by hand, carefully assembled, and protected by a leather cover designed to preserve its contents for generations. Modern imaging techniques continue revealing details that were once nearly impossible to read. Every improvement in conservation allows ancient voices to become a little clearer once again. Even after decades of careful study, many questions remain unanswered. Every new translation adds another small piece to a story that historians continue to reconstruct with patience and care. The Nag Hammadi Library reminds us that history sometimes survives through the simplest acts: a sealed jar, a dry climate, and centuries of quiet waiting preserved voices that might otherwise have disappeared forever. Without that remarkable discovery in 1945, many of these writings would have remained unknown. Their survival depended as much on chance as on the careful work of those who created them. Every recovered manuscript reminds us that history is built from fragments. Piece by piece, scholars compare texts, languages, and evidence to better understand the lives of those who came before us. For nearly 16 centuries, the desert protected these manuscripts without recognition or celebration. Sometimes, history survives, not because it is remembered, but because it is quietly left undisturbed. As our journey continues, we leave Egypt behind and travel north to the ancient kingdom of Ebla, where thousands of clay tablets would one day reveal a civilization that history had almost completely forgotten. The Royal Library of Ebla, a kingdom rediscovered in clay. Long before the great libraries of Greece and Egypt, another remarkable center of record-keeping flourished in northern Syria. Our journey now brings us to the ancient kingdom of Ebla. More than 4,000 years ago, Ebla stood among the important cities of the ancient Near East, connected to distant kingdoms through trade, diplomacy, and written communication. For thousands of years, Ebla's location was forgotten. Then, during 20th century excavations at Tel Mardik, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a city that transformed our understanding of the Bronze Age. Inside the palace, excavators discovered thousands of clay tablets. Together, these remarkable records reveal the administration, economy, and diplomacy of a civilization once thought almost entirely lost. Although it functioned more as a royal archive than a public library, the collection preserved the memory of an entire kingdom through thousands of carefully written clay tablets. Within the palace archive, scribes carefully recorded the daily life of the kingdom. Every shipment, agreement, and official decision was preserved on clay for future reference. Every tablet was created by pressing tiny wedge-shaped signs into soft clay. These simple marks form contracts, inventories, diplomatic letters, and records that have survived for more than 4,000 years. The archive documented nearly every aspect of government: grain, livestock, textiles, trade, taxation, and diplomacy were all carefully recorded, allowing the kingdom to function with remarkable organization. Trade connected Ebla to distant lands. Merchants arrived with timber, metals, textiles, and other valuable goods, while palace officials carefully documented every important transaction. The royal archive served as the kingdom's memory. Without accurate records, governing a prosperous Bronze Age city would have been far more difficult than we often imagine today. Among the archive's most remarkable discoveries were bilingual vocabulary lists. These tablets paired Sumerian words with their Eblaite equivalents, helping generations of scribes master different languages. These ancient word lists served much like dictionaries. They trained young scribes, standardized official writing, and helped preserve knowledge across generations of skilled record keepers. The archive also revealed how closely connected the ancient world already was. Trade routes carried goods, ideas, and diplomatic messages across remarkable distances long before the classical age. Luxury goods arrived from distant regions, including silver, timber, fine textiles, and precious stones. Every important exchange strengthened Ebla's place within a vast international network. Far from being isolated, Ebla depended upon writing to manage a complex kingdom. His archive became the living memory of a civilization connected to many neighboring cultures. Around the 23rd century BCE, Ebla experienced a catastrophic destruction. Exactly who was responsible remains debated, but the once flourishing city eventually fell into ruin. As buildings collapsed, thousands of clay tablets tumbled from their shelves. In an unexpected twist, the heat from the destruction helped harden many of them, preserving their inscriptions. When archaeologists uncovered the archive, many tablets were still lying close to where they had fallen thousands of years earlier, offering rare clues about how the archive had originally been organized. By studying the tablets' original positions, researchers gained an unusually detailed understanding of how Bronze Age administrators arranged and managed their written records. Thousands of tablets continue to be studied today. Each translation reveals another small detail about a civilization whose voice was almost completely lost beneath the earth for 4,000 years. Researchers continue translating the Ebla tablets today. Every newly understood inscription adds another piece to the remarkable story of one of the ancient world's earliest recorded kingdoms. The rediscovery of Ebla transformed historical understanding. A civilization once known only through scattered references suddenly began speaking again through thousands of surviving clay tablets. The archive revealed that Bronze Age societies were far more interconnected than many once believed. Trade, diplomacy, and written communication linked distant kingdoms across the ancient Near East. Even this extraordinary archive represents only a fraction of what once existed. Countless documents, stories, and voices disappeared long before they could reach the modern world. From Egypt to Mesopotamia, from the Mediterranean to the Silk Roads, every library we have visited tells the same quiet story. Knowledge is precious, yet its survival has never been guaranteed. Every surviving tablet reminds us of countless others that have vanished. History reaches us through fragments, preserving only a small part of the knowledge that once filled the ancient world. Although these civilizations spoke different languages and followed different traditions, they shared a common purpose. Each believed that preserving knowledge was a gift for generations yet to come. Ideas traveled farther than many people imagine. Across deserts, rivers, and seas, knowledge moved with merchants, diplomats, monks, and scholars, connecting civilizations over thousands of kilometers. Every forgotten library leaves behind both silence and inspiration. The books that remain remind us not only of what survived, but also of the countless voices that time has carried away. In our final chapter, we will reflect on the meaning of these lost libraries, exploring what they continue to teach us about memory, preservation, curiosity, and humanity's enduring search for knowledge across the ages. The knowledge that almost vanished. Our journey has carried us across continents and through thousands of years. Though separated by distance and culture, these remarkable libraries share one quiet and enduring story. Each civilization chose different materials to preserve knowledge. Clay, papyrus, parchment, and paper all carried the same hope that wisdom could survive beyond a single human lifetime. Behind every surviving manuscript stood countless people whose names are now forgotten. Scribes, librarians, teachers, and caretakers quietly protected civilization's memory through patient and careful work. Although the forms have changed over time, the purpose has remained remarkably consistent. Every generation inherits knowledge, preserves it, and passes it forward to those who will come next. The story of lost libraries is not only about the past. It is also about the continuing responsibility to preserve humanity's shared memory for generations that have yet to arrive. Historians often remind us that what survived from antiquity is only a small fraction of what once existed. Countless books, poems, and discoveries disappeared before they could reach the modern world. Many ancient writers mention works that no longer survive. Sometimes only a title remains or a brief quotation preserved within another author's writings, leaving us to imagine what has been lost. Some ideas may have been discovered more than once because earlier knowledge disappeared. Without continuous preservation, even remarkable achievements can quietly fade from human memory. Today, preservation continues in new ways. Conservators, librarians, and historians work patiently to protect fragile manuscripts, ensuring that future generations may continue learning from the distant past. The tools have changed dramatically, yet the mission remains the same. Across thousands of years, humanity has continued searching for better ways to preserve knowledge against the passage of time. Today, digital technology allows rare manuscripts to be preserved in extraordinary detail. High-resolution images help protect fragile originals while making their contents available to researchers around the world. Understanding the ancient world is rarely the work of one person alone. Archaeologists, linguists, conservators, and historians combine their knowledge to reconstruct stories from scattered fragments. Even today, countless archaeological sites remain unexplored beneath deserts, forests, and modern cities. New discoveries may still be waiting to reshape our understanding of history. Some forgotten archives may still lie buried beneath the earth. Whether they survive intact remains unknown, reminding us that history continues to hold mysteries beyond our present understanding. Knowledge has never belonged to a single civilization. Across centuries, ideas traveled with merchants, monks, scholars, and translators, connecting cultures in ways that continue to shape our world today. Mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy did not grow in isolation. Across generations, ideas traveled between cultures, gradually becoming part of humanity's shared intellectual heritage. Every generation inherited knowledge from those who came before, whether copied onto clay, papyrus, parchment, or paper. Each manuscript represented a quiet promise to the future. The methods changed over time, but the purpose remained remarkably constant. Across centuries, countless individuals devoted themselves to protecting humanity's written memory. Many of the world's oldest manuscripts now survive because generations of careful preservation continued long after the civilizations that created them had disappeared. Every library we have visited reminds us that preserving knowledge is never a finished task. It is a quiet responsibility carried forward, one generation after another. The story of lost libraries is not only about what disappeared, it is also about what survived through patience, dedication, and the quiet determination of countless unnamed guardians. From ancient scribes to modern conservators, every generation has contributed to the preservation of humanity's memory. Their work allows voices from distant centuries to continue speaking today. Even now, history may still hold many secrets. Buried scrolls, forgotten archives, and undiscovered inscriptions could one day reshape what we know about the ancient world. Every new discovery begins with careful observation and patience. Sometimes, a single fragment is enough to change a long-accepted interpretation of history. Perhaps the greatest lesson of every lost library is this: knowledge survives because someone chooses to protect it, even when they may never meet the people who will one day read it. Perhaps the greatest library has never belonged to a single city. Instead, It lives within humanity itself, built gradually by countless generations who chose to preserve what they had learned. Each generation added another page to humanity's shared story. Some chapters were preserved, others were forgotten, but the search for knowledge continued without interruption. Today, that work continues. Around the world, researchers collaborate to preserve fragile manuscripts, translate forgotten languages, and ensure that the past remains accessible to future generations. Some mysteries may never be solved, yet every surviving manuscript reminds us that even a single preserved page can carry a voice across thousands of years. As our journey comes to a close, the lost libraries of antiquity leave us with a timeless reminder. Civilizations may fade, buildings may crumble, but the human desire to learn, preserve, and share knowledge continues its quiet journey into the future. Echoes beneath the dust, an epilogue. The night has grown quiet once again. As the world settles into silence, we return to an imagined library where the echoes of history still rest peacefully upon forgotten shelves. The stories we have followed now grow still, like dust returning gently to ancient shelves. They remind us that memory often survives in the quietest places. Across thousands of years, countless hands shape humanity's written memory. Some pressed symbols into clay, while others carefully copied words onto papyrus, parchment, or paper. Few of those careful scribes expected to be remembered, yet through their patience, ideas traveled across centuries, reaching readers they would never have the chance to meet. History often celebrates kings and conquerors, but just as important were the quiet keepers of knowledge, whose careful work allowed civilization's memory to endure beyond the rise and fall of empires. Most of the people who preserved knowledge remain unknown to history. Their names faded long ago, yet their careful work continues to shape the world we know today. Every civilization found its own way to preserve ideas, different materials, different language, and different traditions all serve the same enduring purpose, to carry memory into the future. When archaeologists uncover even the smallest fragment, they recover more than an artifact. They recover a moment of human thought that had almost disappeared forever. Every manuscript has lived many lives. It has passed from one reader to another, crossing centuries until its words finally reached the present day. Perhaps every surviving book is more than a historical object. It is a quiet conversation, patiently waiting for another reader to continue listening. Historians often describe libraries as the memory of civilizations. Just as people preserve their experiences through memory, societies preserve their ideas through carefully protected collections of knowledge. Memory grows gradually. Every preserved manuscript becomes another route connecting the present with generations that lived, learned, and wondered long before us. Knowledge has always crossed borders. Through translation and exchange, ideas traveled between civilizations, allowing discoveries to inspire people living far beyond their original homes. Different languages preserved different voices, yet together they tell a shared human story. Curiosity, learning, and creativity have always belonged to humanity as a whole. Across thousands of years, countless people became quiet gardens of memory. Though separated by centuries, they all shared the same simple hope that knowledge would continue beyond their own lifetime. Even today, the earth may still conceal forgotten archives. Every careful excavation carries the possibility of revealing another voice that has waited in silence for centuries. Some lost collections may never be found. Others may still rest beneath the earth, quietly waiting for future generations to uncover them with patience and care. Preserving history has become a shared effort. Specialists from many fields work together to understand ancient texts and protect them for readers who have not yet been born. Not every mystery will be solved. Some shelves may remain empty forever, yet their silence reminds us how precious every surviving manuscript truly is. As the night grows quieter, the voices of the past become gentle echoes. They ask for nothing more than a willing reader and the quiet patience to listen. Imagine one final library. No single kingdom built it, and no empire could ever claim it. It exists only as a symbol of humanity's shared memory, gathered across countless generations. Every preserved manuscript became one more page added to this endless collection. Each generation contributed something small, trusting that those who followed would continue the work. Curiosity has never belonged to one age alone. From childhood to old age, from ancient temples to modern archives, the desire to understand the world continues to unite humanity. The story of knowledge is never complete. Every generation receives unfinished pages and leaves new ones behind, adding its own questions, discoveries, and understanding to the human story. Perhaps the greatest legacy of every lost library is not the knowledge that vanished, but the enduring hope that humanity will continue preserving, sharing, and seeking wisdom for generations still to come. As the evening draws to its quiet conclusion, the final manuscript is gently returned to its place. The library grows still, yet its stories continue to wait with endless patience. The lamps burn a little lower, and the corridors become wonderfully quiet. Nothing is hurried here. Time itself seems to move gently among the shelves. One small light remains illuminating a single open page. It reminds us that even the smallest preserved idea can continue shining across thousands of years. Beyond every empire, every language, and every generation, the search for knowledge continues. It belongs not to one civilization, but to all who choose to learn and remember. And now, as our journey gently comes to an end, may the quiet voices of history remain with you. May your thoughts grow peaceful, your curiosity endure, and your rest be calm beneath the same timeless stars that watched over these forgotten libraries. the last keeper of memory. The night has grown wonderfully still. The long journey through the lost libraries of antiquity has reached its quietest moment, where silence itself becomes part of the story. Imagine one final keeper of memory walking patiently through silent halls. No audience follows, no applause awaits, only the quiet responsibility of protecting knowledge for those yet to come. Every manuscript is returned to its place with care, not because it is valuable in gold, but because it carries the thoughts, hopes, and questions of people who lived long before us. Though every civilization chose different materials, each shared the same quiet belief. Ideas deserved to outlive the voices that first spoke them. Knowledge is much like a tree. Its roots reach deep into forgotten ages, while each new generation becomes another branch stretching quietly toward the future. Though centuries separated their lives, they shared one quiet purpose. Every scribe, librarian, monk, translator, and conservator became part of an unbroken chain, passing humanity's memory gently from one generation to the next. Knowledge has always moved like a gentle river. It crossed mountains, deserts, and seas, carried by travelers who often had no idea how deeply their journeys would shape the future. A single page can outlive the voice that first wrote it. Long after kingdoms have disappeared, quiet words, preserved with care, can still inspire minds that were never imagined by their authors. The filled shelves remind us of what survived. The empty ones remind us of what has been lost. Together, they tell the complete story of humanity's fragile and enduring relationship with memory. Perhaps the greatest library has never belonged to one empire or one civilization. It has always belonged to humanity itself, growing quietly each time one generation chooses to preserve its wisdom for the next. As dawn quietly enters the library, every shelf seems to awaken with gentle light. The voices of countless generations remain here, waiting patiently for anyone willing to listen with curiosity and care. Across different civilizations, people chose different ways to preserve their knowledge. Yet every manuscript carried the same quiet hope that wisdom might continue its journey long after its creators were gone. No civilization stood entirely alone. Ideas traveled through trade, translation, scholarship, and curiosity, allowing each generation to build upon the knowledge that came before it. Some mysteries remain unsolved, and perhaps they always will. Yet the search itself continues to enrich our understanding, reminding us that history is both a record of answers and a source of enduring questions. As this journey gently approaches its final pages, one quiet truth remains. Knowledge endures because every generation chooses to protect a small part of humanity, shared memory, and pass it forward with hope. Perhaps the greatest library is not defined by its walls, but by the countless ideas preserved within them. Every generation quietly adds another page to humanity's shared memory. Across thousands of years, different hands carried the same responsibility, Each person protected a small part of the past, trusting that future generations would continue the journey. Knowledge often grows in moments of quiet reflection. A single manuscript, a peaceful morning, and a curious mind have always been enough to begin another search for understanding. Libraries may disappear, yet the ideas they protect continue traveling through generations. They become part of new discoveries, new conversations, and new ways of understanding the world. As our journey gently approaches its final moments, the library remains quiet and welcoming. Its shelves continue waiting, just as they always have, for another reader to discover the stories resting peacefully within. From above, every ancient library becomes part of a much larger story. Different civilizations, separated by time and distance, are quietly united by their shared desire to remember. The night's final lamp slowly grows dim, yet darkness does not bring an ending. It simply makes way for another sunrise, another reader, and another beginning. The final pages remain unwritten. Every generation adds something new, leaving behind discoveries, questions, and ideas that will one day become part of history itself. Those who preserve the past could never know who would inherit their work, yet every carefully protected manuscript became a quiet gift to people living centuries beyond their own time. As this story reaches its peaceful conclusion, one truth remains. The greatest legacy of every lost library is not only the knowledge it preserved, but the enduring hope that humanity will always continue to learn, remember, and pass wisdom forward. The first light of morning quietly reaches the library. Nothing has changed, and yet everything feels renewed. The shelves remain patient, ready to welcome another generation of curious minds. Most of those who protected humanity's memory are unknown to us today, yet their quiet dedication continues to shape every page of history that still survives. Every object before us represents a choice. Someone decided that these words deserve to endure, carrying ideas safely across centuries that no one could possibly predict. Though these libraries belonged to different worlds, together they tell one human story. Across languages and civilizations, the desire to preserve knowledge has always brought people closer together. And now, the journey gently comes to its final page. May these forgotten libraries remind us that while buildings may fade and manuscripts may grow fragile, the human desire to seek, preserve, share knowledge continues, quietly, patiently, and without end. Good night. The final scrolls have been gently put away, and the echoes of the last keeper of memory softly fade into the quiet night. Our journey through these ancient halls has come to an end, but the peace you have found here remains. As the fire gently dies down and the rain continues its endless lullaby, allow yourself to fully drift away. If this journey brought you comfort, softly subscribe to Slumber Lore for more peaceful escapes. Rest now, sleep well, and good night.